Hello, fourth grade, and welcome to your 4.6 music lesson. Right now I am in Quaver, and I'm going to go through Quaver and see what we have for our lesson today. The first activity we have is a little body percussion warm-up. Alright, so it's going to be On Top of the World by Imagine Dragons, a little body percussion activity. So let me go to the beginning of this video. You'll see that there are 5 different symbols that they're going to use. We have the clapping hands, we have a snap, the shoe is going to be a stomp, and then the leg here is going to be pat on your leg, and last one, the sh, is going to be a rest like we normally do in music. Alright, so go ahead and watch through this, listen to the song. And as you can see, like our first pattern is going to be pat, pat, clap, clap. Alright, so go ahead and watch this, a little body percussion warm-up, and do the patterns along with the beat of the music. Alright, let's keep going on to our next activity today. Alright, so here we have meters of 4 plus 16th notes, and we've done this before. So what I'm going to do is I am going to fill out number 1 and number 2 with different rhythm patterns, and I want you to fill out 3 and 4. Alright, so right now I'm going to fill out 1, 2, and your job is to fill out 3 and 4. So for number 1, I'm going to do, let's do ta, ti, ti, tika, tika, and ta. For number 2, I think I want to include a rest somewhere in here. So let's do ti, ti, rest, ta, and then let's have a tika, tika at the end there. Alright, so here are my rhythm patterns 1 and 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my whiteboard. If you have a whiteboard and a marker, go ahead, get it out. If you don't have a whiteboard, or if it's easier just to write it down on a piece of paper, you can do that. But right now on your whiteboard or your paper, I want you to copy down the rhythms that I have for number 1 and number 2, so you have them off to the side for an activity we're going to do later. So pause the video you're watching and then go ahead and write down the patterns 1 and 2. Alright, so hopefully now you have taken a second to write down the rhythms 1 and 2. Unfortunately, my whiteboard is backwards, but you can see that I have my rhythm 1 right here. That's the same on the screen with number 1. And then for rhythm 2, I did the same thing. I wrote it down on my whiteboard so I can have it handy later. Alright, so after you're done with that, then take a few minutes or a few seconds to create a rhythm, your own rhythms, for 3 and 4. And now these rhythms can be as easy or as challenging as you want them to be. If you just want to put like ta, ta, ti, ti, ta, you can do that. Or if you want to make something even more challenging, you can do that in 4. Okay, so pause the video you're watching now, and then you can go through and create your own rhythms 3 and 4, and make sure you write it down on your whiteboard here as well. So 1 and 2 should be my rhythms, 3 and 4 should be the rhythms you create. Okay, so I just paused my video recording, and then I went ahead and wrote down my own rhythms for 3 and 4. Okay, so after you have your 4 rhythms on your whiteboard or on your paper off to the side, we're going to go ahead and move to the next activity in our Quaver lesson. Alright, so unfortunately all of these rhythms that we created here will erase, but that's why we have a separate whiteboard or paper with the rhythms written down. So I'm going to go to the side and click Next. Okay, so now we're using Cue Backbeat Light again. If you did last week's lesson, you guys were exploring cue backbeat and creating your own rhythms and kind of seeing the different things you can do with it. This week, we're going to create our own beats together, all right? But this time, you're not going to have free range over it. We're going to do something together. All right, so I'm going to start. And first, I'm just going to change my tempo. So tempo is the speed of the music. I'm going to make it the slow as possible so we can work with this nice and slowly. All right, so I'm going to explain this again. You see that on backbeat, number 1, you see there are 1, 2, 3, 4 big boxes. So that's our first measure. And each of these boxes is a beat long. And then for number 2, that's measure 2. Each of our boxes is a beat. All right, so let's look at our first rhythm. I have ta, ti, ti, tika, tika, and ta. So let's do number 1 together. So in box number 1, you see these little tiny itty bitty lines right here that separate the big boxes. Those mean it's a tika tika. Okay, so for our rhythm number 1, our first note is a ta. So that means I'm just going to fill in the first box of our rhythm. Okay, and then for this example, I'm just going to do it for one instrument, just so it can be simple for you to visualize our first example. So first one is a ta, and I'm just going to fill in one box. Then if we have ti, ti, that's 2 sounds. So I'm going to do box 1, skip, and then 2. So right now we have ta, ti, ti for our rhythm. All right. For tika tika, how do you think we're going to fill in our box for tika tika since it has 4 sounds? So for tika tika, we're going to fill in the whole entire box. And then last one for ta, we're going to fill in just the first one. So let's listen. Our pattern should sound like ta, ti, ti, tika, tika, ta. So let's see if it sounds okay. Let me just turn my volume up a little bit so you can hear. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to copy the same pattern to a different instrument. So I have ta, ti, ti, tika, tika, and then ta. Let's listen how it sounds now. So we have ta, ti, ti, tika, tika, ta. Okay? So for number 1, I want you to fill in that rhythm pattern ta, ti, ti, tika, tika, ta. So how about your number 1 should look the same as mine. Ta, ti, ti, tika, tika, ta. And then for example, I want my green to also have a ta. Maybe this one is going to have the ti. I'm going to put the tika tika in the yellow. And then let's put the ta back in here. Okay, so I have my whole entire rhythm in the red. And then the other instruments just have a little tiny part of the rhythm. So let's listen to how it sounds now. Okay, so for number 1, in the red, you should have ta, ti, ti, tika, tika, ta. And then the rest of the instruments, you can choose what pattern they want to play. Let's move on to rhythm number 2 that we had on your whiteboard or on your paper. For number 2, we had ti, ti, rest, ta, tika, tika. Alright, so take a few seconds, pause this video, and put in this pattern for number 2, and then come back and check if you did it correctly. Alright, so I'm going to do it now for number 2. I'm still going to put it in the red. So we have TT. This box we're going to leave empty because it's a rest. Then we have ta. And then we have a tika tika. So fill in the whole entire box. And now I'm going to come back and fill in the rest of my instruments. Alright, so now here is my example. On the backbeat, number 1, I have my rhythm pattern, ta, ti, ti, tika, tika, ta. And then here on backbeat for measure 2, I have ti, ti, rest, ta, tika, tika. So let's hear how those patterns sound. You see in the red, I have these rhythms written down. And then in all the other colors, I just have some backup instruments, so it sounds a little bit more interesting with more instruments. Let's see how mine sounds. Alright, so this time it might be a little bit out of sync, but I'm going to say the rhythm patterns along with my beat. So let me play it. Ta. T, T, rest, T, T, ta, T, T, ta, T, T, rest, T, T. Okay, I'm going to pause it here. Now, down at the bottom, I'm going to press this little yellow arrow to move on to measures 3 and 4. And now this is your turn to create your own beats. So you should have 3 and 4 filled out on your paper or your whiteboard with your own patterns. And now it's your turn to create your own beats for measures 3 and 4. Now when you're done, make sure you go up here to the menu. And mine looks a little bit different because I'm on the teacher page. But first I want you to save it. Let's see, I'm just going to save it 4th grade music lesson. So I gave it a title, okay. You can choose whatever title you want. Save it, and then right in this menu there's going to be a little submit button so that I can actually hear your creations. Alright, so fill in measures 1 and 2, similar to what I did. Measures 3 and 4, it's your turn. And then press menu, save, and submit it. Alright, so that's it for our lesson today. And I look forward to hearing all of your beats that you create.